Avodah Zarah Parakein מעמידין Daf Lamed Ches, sponsored for a bracha of Hatzlacha from Moshe ben Avram. The Gemara establishes Bishul Akum, the prohibition of eating cooked foods of an idolater, is thereabouts. However, the Gemara brings a verse as an asmachta support for this decree. Kesef tishbereni v'achalti yumayim b'kesef titein li v'shasisi. Moshe requested Sichon's permission to pass through his land, offering him benefit from the purchase of food and water. The food would be uncooked as water unchanged by cooking. This included toasted kernels, even their flour, essentially unchanged from the raw product. The Gemara concludes it is an asmachta because the verse does not require change through fire. Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak stated in the name of Rav, foods edible raw are not subject to bishul akum. It was taught in Surah. There is no concern for social intimacy developing between an idolater and a Jew by eating foods such as cooked fruits where the cooking is inconsequential. It was taught in Pumpadisa. Kol shaloi nechol al shulchan malachim, an idolater served the Jew cooked food, not served to important people, will not lead to social intimacy. The difference: small fish, mushrooms, and cooked cereal. They are not eaten raw, but are not served to important people. Rav Asi stated, small, edible, salted fish are not susceptible to bishul akum because they are edible by salting. Question: the Gemara excluded them from the prohibition of bishul akum because they are not served to important people. The answer: number one, he follows the opinion excluded from the prohibition are foods eaten raw. Number two, salted fish are served to important people. Number three, these fish are small but larger than those excluded. Rav Yosef holds grilled fish after salting can be used for an erev tavshilin, but not kasa darsana. Even though an idolater's grilling fish after salting does not qualify as bishul akum, it can be used for the cooked food of an erev tavshilin. However, kasa darsana, fried fish and fish fat and flour, cannot be used for an erev tavshilin because the flour is the main ingredient, cannot be eaten without cooking. Rav Brona states, an idolater who starts a fire in a meadow, the grasshopper there are prohibited. The Gemara explains they were prohibited even if a Jew started the fire because the kosher species was not recognizable. However, it is not because of bishul akum. Rabbi Yochanan holds an idolater in the process of singeing hair off a slaughtered animal, or where he threw a peg in an oven with a Jew's gourd in it to dry. Both the animal parts and the gourd are permitted because his intention was not to cook. Similarly, roasted grasshoppers in a scorched meadow are permitted. An idolater turned over a steak placed on a grill by a Jew. The Gemara explained, the steak is permitted despite the fact the idolater's input caused it to grill faster, but if the second side would not grill without turning it over, it is prohibited. So long as it remains on the grill, any amount of a Jew's cooking suffices. Once removed, the Jew had to cook it to machal ben drusai, half cooked or at least a third. Otherwise, it is bishul akum. The same is true if the idolater placed it on the grill and the Jew turned it over, so long as the idolater did not start and finish it. In addition, if the Jew ignited the coals or even threw on the grill a wooden chip, the steak is permitted. Baking bread together. The Jew either inserted the dough, stirred the coals, or according to the Rambam, even threw a match in the oven, the bread is permissible. Salted fish. Chizkiah held fish made edible by salting are permitted so long as he did not cook them. Rabbi Yochanan held they are prohibited. Salting is like cooking. He also holds a roasted egg is prohibited, whereas Bar Kapara permits it because its shell prevents contact with the edible part. The halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan. Sprouted seeds in warm water. They are permitted. They could have sprouted in cold water. Different sized pots. Number one, the opinion who holds nosin tam livgam, forbidden flavors, pots emit the day after cooking are spoiled. The size of the pot does not matter. One can rely on it based on a sveka, double doubt. Perhaps the pot was not used for non-kosher that day, and even if it was, perhaps the flavor emitted was detrimental to the food being cooked now. Number two, the opinion who does not hold nosin tam livgam, the pot must be so small that the head of a small bird like a sparrow cannot fit in the top to assume prohibited foods were not cooked in it. Cooked oil. It is edible raw, and any forbidden flavors in the pot can be assumed to be spoiled. Cooked dates, those that their taste improves from cooking, making those somewhat bitter tasty, are prohibited. Shtisa, one version holds Rav and Avua de Shmuel dispute shtisa made with lentils and water because it is sometimes made with vinegar to offset the sweetness of the lentil flour. Second version holds made with lentil flour, both opinions prohibited. The dispute concerns shtisa made with wheat and barley flour, never mixed with vinegar. Did the Chachamim decree it prohibited to prevent it being made with lentil flour? If you're enjoying Daf and 5, please click on the link below, subscribe, and become a sponsor. Have a good Shabbos, a good Erev Shabbos, and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.